first wish. I want nothing more than to traverse these treacherous lands with ease. For my second wish,
So is this beneficial as a filmmaker? Is this something that you should think about, something that maybe you should integrate and start doing? One solid relationship with a brand, if you can maintain that can last for 5 to 10 years. So the more you can lock those in, once you start to get 3 brands, you get 5 brands, all of a sudden you have this Rolodex of brands and connections within those brands that you can go back to, and that can be really beneficial as a freelance filmmaker. If you're not really in the studio system, you're not working down in LA, you're not with an agency, in my opinion, it's probably essential. Even just like relying on local work can get you so far, but then it all comes down to where you live, how much competition there is, how much you can charge, all that stuff. There's a lot of brands out there. There's a lot of brands that need a lot of content because content, specifically video content, can really drive things for these brands. So it's all about how do you tap into that? How do you get on their radar? And a great way to do that is to just kind of go out and do something on spec. So when you're going to be thinking of spec work, step 1 is just find a brand that fits your personal ideals. Or let's say you're somebody that's really in like fashion and you're really like, you're all about, street art and breakdancing and all this stuff. If you're going to Patagonia or Fjallraven or some outdoor company that you really don't have any ties to, your content's gonna fall flat. Like you can pretend, but you can't really fake that stuff. So for me, it's all about take a look in the mirror and see what kind of person you are, what your interests are. And then the brands that you kind of gravitate towards will be a lot easier to do spec work for. Then to me, step 2 is to go look at their social feeds. Go see what kind of content they're already putting out there. That will give you a sense of what their marketing strategy is, what their content strategy is, and you can try to build your spec pieces to be within that. The closer you are to what they're already doing, the easier that's going to be to pitch to them and to say, look, I can be a content creator for you because I'm capable. I have the tools to deliver the kind of stuff you're already doing. That's kind of key. Step 3 is then to release that spec piece. So release that onto Instagram, to YouTube, wherever, and then to shill it. So to directly send that via DM, via email, via tags, however you can, kind of get that out there and try to get the brand to notice it. If the brand does notice it, that's kind of where you're in the home stretch and it's just time to land it. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because the spec piece that you created isn't actually the product you're trying to sell these brands. You're trying to sell yourself and future work like the spec piece. So it's good in that scenario to kind of have your reel, your website, all that stuff prepackaged, ready to go so that you can say, hey, I'd love to work with you in some capacity. Here's some of my previous work. You've already seen the spec work, so you know that's kind of like my love letter to your brand. If you spread that out and you do that with, let's say, 10 brands, there's a very high likelihood you're gonna get at least one of them. The more marketing people I talk to with these brands, they're looking for content all the time, and they're always struggling to find content. There's a lot of work out there for freelance filmmakers, and the spec piece almost functions as your resume for that specific brand. So I think it's really helpful to do. So if you didn't watch last week's video, we released all of the products we've ever made for Newman Films for free. If you go to savage.app, go to shop, all of the products that we used to make are now free. This week, I just uploaded a new product. This is just a single LUT, but it's one that I've spent a lot of time on. It's simply just called ColourPop. We've in the past done a lot of things for like TV companies. So when you go into Walmart or you go into Costco or you go into Best Buy, you see all the stuff on the TVs. A lot of times that's our stuff. And they just want those colors to pop, right? So if we're doing like paint, if we have paint, or if you have a fall foliage scene with vibrant colors in the trees, you just want those individual colors to pop. You want the reds to pop, you want the yellows to pop, you want them to all stand out from each other. This LUT really just accomplishes that. It's not perfect, and if you put it on a shot like this, it's gonna look terrible. But for the most part, like if you're just wanting that beautiful nature scene, if you're wanting just each individual color to really pop off the screen and stand out from one another, that's what this LUT accomplishes. So if you go to savage.app, go to the shop and you download the ColourPop LUT. That's really the purpose of it. So wrapping up this spec video, I'm really curious to hear what your guys' successes, failures, and thoughts are on spec work. Have you ever done a piece of spec work? Has it ever led to a really meaningful relationship with a client? And what are your thoughts on it? I'm really curious if I'm just the only one that sees the value in it. Maybe I'm just totally off base here, but it's worked decently for me to have ins with pretty high up marketing people within these brands. Next week, we have a very fun, very creative, very exciting competition that all you guys will get to collaborate on, partake in. The competition that we're gonna do starting next week is kind of in this vein of spec and doing things to get noticed by people. There are prizes, but at the same time, if we do something really cool, you know, this company may notice what we're doing and it could change a career. So that's it for me this week. I'm still not gonna ask you to like, comment, share, subscribe, any of that stuff. Yeah, not yet. It's still a little too early, maybe. Don't know. If you, no, not yet. Not yet. Next week, I might ask. Yeah, next week. All right, guys, that's it from me. I'm Luke from Savage, and I will see you next Saturday for the announcement of the new competition.